Hello and welcome to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar. In this video we'll be answering the question, what should you do when the possession ends in an S? We're thinking about apostrophes and possession, but when we're thinking about possession we're talking about an idea, person or item that belongs to someone or something else. We show this through an apostrophe after the S in the original word. For example, her friends' problems were far greater than she realised. It's clear from this that her, whoever that is considering many friends' problems. The problems belong to the friends. And as we're dealing with a plural, that's why we add the apostrophe after the final letter that ends in an S. If it didn't end in an S, I think it's worth you consulting video 17.3. which discusses this issue in length. Let's consider these 4 examples. Your job is to consider if they are correct, and if so, why they are correct. Hit pause if you need thinking time. So, how did you get on? Knives as blades can be incredibly sharp and should not be left out. So here we're considering the apostrophe after the final S of knives, and I'm considering that the blades belong to many knives. So the blades of many knives means that knives with the apostrophe after it is a possessive that is plural. This is correct. For any word that ends in an S, if we're dealing with it as a possessive, we have an apostrophe on its own after it. So this is correct. Nurses' shifts change regularly from night to day work patterns. So here I'm considering the shifts of many nurses. And so that's also a plural possession because I'm considering that the shifts belong to the nurses. It's the same pattern as well. The final S of nurses has an apostrophe after it. Next up. Swimmers' training is intense in the run-up to an event. So I'm talking about the training that belongs to many swimmers. This is also a plural possessive, as I'm making it clear with just a singular apostrophe after the final S of swimmers that I'm talking about the training that belongs to the swimmers. And finally, soldiers' experiences are both alarming and traumatic at war. So here it's clear that we're reconciling and reviewing the experiences of many soldiers. This is also a plural possessive. In essence, if you are trying to come across as incredibly clear about the function of a possession when a word ends in S, if you're dealing with a plural, what you are doing is adding a singular apostrophe after the last letter of that word. You don't need to add an S after that. In many cases it's acceptable to do that, but if it's easier to just simply put an apostrophe after the final letter of the word that ends in an S, well, it makes absolute sense just to do that. It's important to identify that we always add the apostrophe to the word that is belonging something else, that owns something else. So in our initial example, the problems belong to many friends. And then we moved on to thinking about the blades that belong to many knives, the shifts that belong to many nurses, the training that belongs to many swimmers, and finally the experiences that belong to many soldiers. This is worthwhile reconciling and practicing because it's a common mistake, especially at GCSE. People randomly adding apostrophes here or there just because a word ends in S is not the point. We're only doing that if we're showing that the item or thing that's being considered is possessive. That means it belongs to something else. It has an item that belongs to it. Be clear about that, and good luck in all things possessive, possession-based and apostrophe-based. Why not subscribe to Miss Hannah Loves Grammar for all things English, literary and grammatical?